The Great Metabolic Renaissance, a master architectural blueprint for reclaiming your biological sovereignty and transfusing new life into your genetic script. If you are currently navigating the treacherous high-stakes labyrinth of living with type 2 diabetes, or if you have recently stood in the sterile bone-white glare of a doctor's office and felt the icy gut-punching sting of being labeled pre-diabetic, this message is your ultimate lifeline. Even if you are simply an individual carrying the invisible, crushing psychological weight of a family history haunted by this condition, watching parents or grandparents succumb to its slow, agonizing ravages, their vitality flickering out in a series of clinical complications, the conversation we are embarking upon today is arguably the most significant turning point for your future health, vitality, and longevity. This is not merely another dry, educational lecture. It is a formal invitation to a biological revolution where you are the primary protagonist, the lead architect, and the ultimate beneficiary of your own healing. For more than half a century, a thick, suffocating shadow of medical fatalism has hung over the diagnosis of type 2 diabetes like a heavy fog. We have been systemically conditioned by powerful pharmaceutical narratives, profit-driven healthcare structures, and outdated clinical models to believe that this condition is an irreversible one-way street toward physical decay. We are told with an air of absolute, unshakable finality that it is a permanent degenerative sentence that can, at best, be managed. We are taught to accept a diminished life defined by the slow erosion of our faculties, mediated by a lifelong dependence on expensive pills and painful, invasive insulin injections that often treat the symptom while the disease deepens. This traditional perspective insists that once your metabolic machinery breaks, it remains broken forever, leaving you a perpetual slave to the pharmacy counter and a victim of your own biology. However, we are here today to radically challenge, deconstruct, and dismantle that defeatist narrative with the sledgehammer of modern science and ancient wisdom. By synthesizing the most recent cutting-edge breakthroughs in nutritional epigenetics with the timeless foundational intelligence of Ayurveda, we can now see that this pessimistic outlook is not merely outdated, it is fundamentally biologically incorrect. Your body is not a static machine that simply wears out like an old car. It is a self-regulating, self-healing, and profoundly intelligent living ecosystem. It possesses a staggering innate capacity for cellular regeneration and metabolic repair that modern symptom-based medicine often ignores or underestimates. What you require is not another chemical crutch to temporarily mask your numbers, while the underlying fire spreads through your tissues. What you need is a precise, evidence-based clinical roadmap and an unshakable ironclad resolve to reclaim your biological sovereignty. Today, we are providing that exact roadmap. We will dissect 3 transformative, scientifically backed steps designed to help you transition from merely surviving a disease to permanently reversing your diabetic state and thriving in a body that works for you, rather than against you. The anatomy of a crisis, understanding the symptom versus the source. To effectively dismantle a disease, one must first master its architecture. You cannot defeat an enemy you do not truly understand. At its most fundamental level, diabetes is a state of profound metabolic disharmony where your bloodstream becomes dangerously saturated with far more glucose than your cells can effectively process, transport, or utilize for fuel. It is an energy overflow in a system that has lost its ability to regulate its own internal environment. According to the gold standard set by the World Health Organization, WHO, a healthy homeostatic fasting blood sugar level should ideally oscillate between 70 and 100 milligrams per deciliter. This is the green zone of metabolic efficiency, the biological sweet spot where your body hums with precision and your energy is stable. When your readings begin to creep into the 100 to 125 milligrams per deciliter range, your body is sounding a silent internal alarm. This is the amber zone. At this critical juncture, lifestyle modifications are no longer helpful suggestions. They are mandatory, life-saving interventions required to prevent a total systemic collapse. If the number crosses the 125 mg per deciliter threshold, the medical establishment officially categorizes you as diabetic, and the conventional pharmaceutical conveyor belt begins to pull you in, often for the remainder of your life. Once these levels soar above 200 mg per deciliter, the internal damage shifts from theoretical to catastrophic. It becomes an accelerated, corrosive assault on your vital organs, targeting everything from the delicate capillary filters of your kidneys to the intricate neural networks of your retinas. The primary failure of modern symptomatic medicine is that it treats elevated blood sugar as the disease itself. It is not. High blood sugar is merely the smoke, it is not the fire. Think of it as a high fever. A fever is a vital indicator that your body is fighting an underlying infection. If you only use ice baths to artificially lower the fever while ignoring the bacteria ravaging your tissues, you aren't curing the patient. You are simply hiding the evidence while the infection spreads and the patient weakens. Mainstream medications like metformin or sulfonylureas often act like that ice bath. They use chemical force to push the sugar out of the blood and into other tissues, yet they do nothing to address the biological root cause. The moment the drug's influence fades, the sugar returns with renewed intensity because the underlying metabolic dysfunction, the actual fire, remains completely untouched and continues to smolder in the background of your physiology. The true culprit, the invisible wall of insulin resistance. So, what is the genuine root cause? It is a physiological state of cellular deafness, known as insulin resistance. Every time you consume carbohydrates, your digestive system meticulously breaks them down into glucose, blood sugar. To transform this sugar into usable cellular energy, your pancreas secretes a potent, master hormone called insulin. Visualize insulin as a master key. Its singular mission is to travel through the bloodstream, locate the specific locks, receptors, on your cellular doors, and turn them so that glucose can enter the cell to be burned as fuel or stored as energy. The crisis arises when our modern environment, meticulously engineered with refined sugars, ultra-processed flours, and hidden liquid calories, forces the pancreas to pump out massive, unnatural quantities of insulin around the clock. Your body was never evolved to handle this constant, relentless deluge of glucose. It is a biological overload. Over time, your cells become exhausted and overwhelmed by this relentless hormonal bombardment. In a desperate act of self-defense, the cells begin to muffle the signal. They change their locks. They stop responding to the key. This is the birth of insulin resistance, the cellular no to a toxic environment. As a result, the glucose has nowhere to go. It stays trapped in your bloodstream, transforming your blood from a life-giving fluid into a thick, corrosive, syrupy sludge. This syrupy blood triggers systemic inflammation, scours the delicate lining of your arteries like sandpaper, and eventually leads to the big four of diabetic complications: heart disease, end-stage renal failure, blindness, and the agonizing burning sensation of peripheral nerve damage. To heal, we must stop forcing the locks and instead make the cells listen again. Step 1. The dietary revolution: fuel as molecular medicine. Diabetes is, at its core, a dietary disorder. Therefore, the primary cure cannot be found in a pharmacy, but must be found on your plate. While many people resign themselves to a genetic fate, the emerging science of epigenetics tells a far more empowering story. Your genes are not your destiny. They are merely a blueprint that can be edited by your environment. Genetics may load the gun, but it is your lifestyle and diet that pull the trigger. While your DNA might account for a small percentage of your risk, those disease genes often remain dormant unless they are switched on by a toxic, high-glucose nutritional environment. You have the power to flip the switch back to off through the information you feed your body. The daily protocol for metabolic restoration *, the morning strategy. You must begin your day with vibrant, whole fruits. There is a persistent, dangerous myth that diabetics should avoid fruit due to its sugar content. This is a profound misunderstanding of biology. The sugar in whole fruit is biologically packaged with life-saving fiber, phytonutrients, and structured water. This fiber acts as a natural speed bump, slowing down the absorption of glucose so your liver isn't overwhelmed. Focus on low-glycemic, antioxidant-rich powerhouses. Blueberries, raspberries, jamun, the legendary Indian blackberry renowned in Ayurveda for its anti-diabetic compounds, guava, and citrus. These are not just foods, they are instructions for your metabolism. The golden rule: under no circumstances should you ever drink fruit juice. When you juice a fruit, you strip away its protective fiber skeleton, leaving behind a concentrated sugar bomb that hits your system with the force of a freight train. Always consume the whole fruit to keep the fiber matrix intact and protect your pancreas from an unnecessary spike. The fiber-first lunch. This is a non-negotiable commandment. Before you touch a single grain of rice or a piece of bread, you must consume a large bowl of raw, crunch-filled salad. Incorporate cucumbers, carrots, onions, peppers, and dark leafy greens. This raw fiber creates a physical lattice or mesh in your small intestine. When you eventually eat your main course, this mesh traps the glucose molecules, preventing them from flooding your bloodstream in a sudden inflammatory spike. It is a biological filter that you build yourself at every meal to protect your internal chemistry. For the main course, prioritize high-protein, high-fiber legumes like horse gram, kulthi dal. In Ayurveda, this legume is used to scrape excess fat and stagnation from the tissues. Replace refined white rice and wheat with ancient grains like millets, pearl, finger, or foxtail, which digest slowly and provide sustained, steady energy without the crash. These grains are the fuel of ancestors, built for long-term health. The fat audit. Your cells are literally constructed from the fats you eat. To fix your locks, you must use high-quality building materials. Use only stable, cold-pressed fats like mustard oil, extra virgin olive oil, or virgin coconut oil. You must ruthlessly eliminate seed oils, soybean, sunflower, corn, or vegetable oils. These industrial oils are highly unstable and cause massive oxidative stress that clogs your insulin receptors, directly worsening insulin resistance and creating a state of chronic cellular inflammation that makes recovery impossible. The early sunset dinner. Your final meal should be your lightest and must ideally be finished by 7 p.m. We strongly recommend including raw onions in your evening salad. Clinical studies show that a 100-gram serving of raw onion can significantly lower blood glucose levels within hours. Aim for a 13 to 14-hour fasting window between dinner and the next day's breakfast. This intermittent fasting allows your insulin levels to finally drop to their baseline, giving your cells a rare, precious opportunity to reset, breathe, and regain their sensitivity to the hormone in the absence of constant digestion. Step 2. Potent herbal allies, nature's clinical pharmacopoeia. To repair the underlying damage to your pancreatic beta cells and sharpen your body's response to insulin, we utilize 2 time-tested botanical remedies that have been validated by both ancient tradition and rigorous modern research. 1. The morning bitter ritual. Soak 1 tablespoon 5 grams of fenugreek methi seeds in a glass of water overnight. Upon waking, drink the infused water and thoroughly chew the softened seeds. Fenugreek is incredibly rich in galactomannan, a natural soluble fiber that slows the rate of sugar absorption into the blood. Research indicates that consistent use can drop fasting blood sugar levels and improve glucose tolerance significantly within just 60 days of disciplined use. 2. The nightly healing tonic. Before sleep, mix 1 teaspoon of amla, Indian gooseberry, powder with a 1/4 teaspoon of pure, high curcumin turmeric, haldi, in half a cup of warm water. Amla is one of the most potent sources of vitamin C on the planet, providing the antioxidants necessary to shield the pancreas from oxidative damage. Turmeric acts as a systemic anti-inflammatory to cool down the internal fire caused by chronic high sugar, acting as a molecular shield for your organs while you sleep. Step 3. Strategic movement, clearing the metabolic pipes. Exercise for a diabetic is not about losing weight for aesthetic reasons or vanity. It is a clinical intervention designed to clear the pipes of excess energy. When you engage in physical movement, your skeletal muscles demand energy. They possess a unique, insulin-independent mechanism called GLUT4 translocation. This allows your muscles to literally suck glucose out of the blood and into the cells for fuel, even if your insulin keys are currently not working perfectly. It is a backdoor into the cell that bypasses insulin resistance entirely. The 15-minute rule. A brisk walk for just 15 minutes immediately after a meal can prevent a postprandial, after-meal sugar spike. This simple habit can often drop your blood sugar by several points almost instantly, acting like a natural endogenous dose of insulin without the side effects. The consistency goal. Aim for a 3-kilometer walk daily. Whether it is resistance training, yoga, or swimming, movement is the most effective way to lower cortisol. Since high-stress cortisol triggers the liver to dump stored sugar into the blood, staying active acts as a double-edged sword against the disease, lowering sugar while neutralizing the stress that fuels the fire. The path forward, from patient to architect. Diabetes does not have to be your destiny. It is not a permanent state of being, but rather a profound physiological imbalance that can be corrected with the right inputs, the right environment, and the right mindset. By shifting your focus from masking the numbers with chemicals to healing the underlying resistance with lifestyle, you can reclaim a life defined by energy, clarity, and freedom, rather than restriction and fear. You are no longer a victim of your biology, you are the architect of it. It starts with the choices you make in your kitchen, the rituals you perform at your bedside, and the intentional way you move your body through the world. Have faith in your body's sophisticated, ancient ability to heal itself when it is finally provided with the correct biological tools and the space to recover. Commit to these steps today. The road to reversal requires discipline, consistency, and patience, but the destination, a future free from the shadow of chronic disease, is worth every ounce of effort and every minute of focus. Thank you for embarking on this journey toward true health with us. If you found this roadmap helpful, please share it with your loved ones. Knowledge is the first, most essential step toward freedom. Stay healthy, stay informed, and remember, your health is and always has been in your own hands.